What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/ProRevenge.
This story's called Accidentally Burned Down My Neighbor's Fence and She Tries to Milk Me for $10,000. Judge humbles that butt up real quick. This sub has gotten me through a lot of boredom and has provided me with hours of entertainment. I figure it's my turn to tell my revenge story. So it's been about 4 years since this happened. I was about 18 at the time, working for a security company. There were constant call-offs and no-shows. Have no idea why, but being so young and naive, I was constantly working 16-hour shifts and not coming home until 8 a.m. Also, I lived with my father at the time. The time frame of this was around 4th of July. I finally had a day off and my best friend was back in town for vacation. We decided to get together and chip in on some good old American fireworks. To be fair, I have had nothing but bad experiences with fireworks, so I had no idea how this would be any different. We got home with the fireworks and we laid them all out on the floor. Sparklers, bottle rockets, cakes, and Roman candles. I say, why don't we mess around with some sparklers since it's still not dark yet? Great idea! We go into my backyard where it hasn't rained in well over 2 months and it is extremely dry. You see the problem here? One of the little sparkies from mine and my friend's sparkler made contact with the ground and made 2 small fires that quickly spread to a large area. I ran as fast as I could to grab the garden hose and quickly started spraying down the fire. It was no use. It was spreading faster than I could spray it. I handed my friend the hose and called 911. What felt like hours was only 4 minutes, and the fire was spreading to the neighbor's fence. The neighbor came outside and they were fairly calm to grab their hose and spray down the fence, along with the dead grass in her yard. The fire department shows up finally, and I tell my friend, only one of us needs to get in trouble. You should leave. He was reluctant to leave because he felt equally responsible, but I convinced him. I didn't want him to get into any trouble and have to drop out of college. My neighbor was super chill about the entire situation, at first. I told her that we could talk about replacing the fence and get some quotes to repair it. She was just super grateful that everyone was okay. About 2 hours after the fire, the arson/fire investigator came to question me about the fire. I told him the truth. I said I was in the backyard by myself playing with fireworks and accidentally lit the ground on fire. I had gotten off that day without being hit by any charges and was commended for being honest. Here is where it goes downhill very fast. About a week later, I get a knock on the door from the neighbor. I opened the door and she handed me 2 pieces of paper for me to look at. There is a quote for the fence valued at around $4,000 and an estimate for lawn care valued at $6,000. These were really shady and just typed out on a Microsoft Word document. No logo or company name. She then adds, I will also be having you pay my water bill for 3 months because the new yard will need lots of water. Now, the fence this woman had before was raggedy and falling apart. Her yard? Dead grass, weeds everywhere, never mowed it. Now, looking at this paper, she wants a mahogany fence and a brand new backyard with flowers and trimmed hedges? I said, I need to get an estimate myself. This doesn't feel right. She says, remember, you agreed to replace my fence, and a real man keeps his promises. I shut the door and called my dad to tell him about what just happened. He flipped the freak out and told me, son, don't you give that floozy a single dime. He gives me the number to his handyman and tells me to take care of it. The next day, I had the guy come out for an estimate, and the neighbor ran outside, flailing her arms. I did not give you permission to get an estimate on my fence. Technically, it separates the property line, so it's both of our fences. She calls the cops on me for having a contractor, and they ultimately can't do a single thing because I'm on my property. He quickly finishes the estimate off at $1,200. I also knew a guy who did lawn care for my time working at the grocery store. He estimated the lawn reseeding while she was away from the house to be about $800. After I get these estimates, I give the copies to the woman and she is having none of it. I don't know these people, I don't want them near my house, they're probably really crappy contractors. I said, no, I know them personally. They are really nice people and do great work. She shut the door in my face and I went on my way. I ended up working a 16-hour shift that night and got home at 8 a.m. This woman comes knocking on my door at 9 a.m. and demanded I speak to her. I explained, I would really love to do this, but I just got home and I have to be back at work in less than 5 hours. I need to sleep. She goes, what kind of crazy butt beanie sleeps in until 2 p.m.? At this point, I had about lost it and told her, You can either accept my $2,000 for my quotes or kiss my butt and get nothing. She stood there for a while with her mouth gaped open, but she accepted my offer and planned to meet down at the notary the next morning. I spent that night after I got off work writing a contract and gathering the $2,000 in cash. The next morning I wake up and grab this contract to meet down at the notary. I was thrilled to finally be done with this broad and never speak to her again. I waited for her for over 3 hours and she didn't show up. I get a call from her saying, "I'm sorry, the $2,000 isn't enough. I'm having my guys start work on this project and you will be paying the full price." Oh, really? After that, I did not say a single word to her and watched for a few months as these guys turned her backyard into an oasis, complete with a small pond, brand new sod and flowers, the whole 9 yards. Come to find out, she had plans to remodel these things for a long time and was just waiting for the opportunity to go through with it. Also in this time, she used her remodel funds to go on a trip to Hawaii. You know how I found out about this? She was bragging about it on the neighborhood Facebook group and didn't know I was in it. I have a different Facebook name than my real name. Are you ready for the revenge? Now, 4 months after the fire and all the remodels, I get served papers to go to court for $10,300. At 18 years old, I'm having to hire a lawyer to work my case. When we finally do get into court, I lay everything out. The quotes, being harassed multiple times, not showing up after agreeing to a deal, not wanting me to get my own quotes, required by law by the way, and her bragging about screwing me out of money, and I have proof of all of this. The judge looked at her and said,
"Ma'am, with all due respect, you're out of your dadgum mind. Not only did this young man tell me the truth of what happened, he offered to pay you more than he was supposed to. Your lawn was already dead before the fire occurred, therefore he's only responsible for the fence of $1,200. I will also deduct from this his lawyer's fees."
$800. So I burned this woman's fence down and all I'm having to give her is $400? Cool. She took a huge financial loss from this. Not sure how much the Hawaii trip cost her, but she was in serious debt. She ended up having to sell the house because of it and moved into a smaller house. Haven't heard anything from her since. Oh man, okay, so this is what happens when you take advantage of someone's generosity. Okay, that was straight up screwed up the way she did him. Yes, it's true that at 18 years old, you are legally an adult. But I'm telling you, as someone who's been 18 and is currently 20, you don't really feel that much like an adult when you're 18. And if this woman had her own house, she was suing an 18-year-old kid for $10,000. That is insanely selfish and just screwed up. How much of a lack of a conscience do you need in order to do something like that? Anyways, moving on. Good revenge. This story is called "Woman Makes a False Harassment Claim and Nearly Gets Me Fired." I get her fired 2 weeks later. Oi, here we go again. So I was working with HQ for a large and well-known company. Cubicle sort of gig. I had been there 3 years and she had been there about 12. She's known to have a bit of an attitude and was pretty much next in line to fill a very high position under the CEO. She's always not liked many of the office workers, pretty much all the men, and one woman she would constantly make cry. I, one day, ended up brushing past her in a hurry to hand something off to my supervisor, which he needed ASAP. Both of my hands quite obviously occupied, holding something at chest level. She ended up filing a harassment claim saying that I grabbed her butt. After 2 weeks of hellish unpleasantness, I ended up getting my supervisor to pull cam footage as they were pretty much about to terminate me, which saved my butt. Well, I'm friends with a guy she likes to talk to, even though he doesn't much like her. I ended up giving him my recorder pen a few weeks later and got him to try and egg her into talking about trying to get me fired. He managed to get her to admit to that and 3 other instances where she did get men fired for false harassment claims. I ended up getting the recording back, made a few copies, and ended up handing them off to HR. Each of the 3 men in question via my email, my boss and his boss, her husband anonymously, and everyone on the board. I basically forced the company into a situation where their star player couldn't stay. Because A, 2 of the 3 men are currently looking to sue, B, I was getting ready to as well, and C, it was completely indisputable. I lost her job and career, any chance at using the place as a reference, and probably damaged her marriage. She's not getting a severance or any of her paid time off paid to her. Alright guys, he also added some extra information. We had to sign a contract stating if we are terminated for wrongdoing, we can lose our paid time off and accruals. She sent me an email calling me an evil child born out of wedlock, saying she hopes karma pays it forward soon, and a few other things. Note, I live in a state where I don't need consent to record something.
Update!
A lot of stuff has just come to light and I have only heard bits so far. Update 2, August 14th. They just escorted out a few people who she worked with closely and are scouring their emails. Not entirely sure what's going on. Update 3, October 14th. My friend in HR and I are getting drinks tomorrow to talk, but apparently 2 other people have been terminated, and the legal team is getting involved. Stuff is getting weird. Plus, I heard something about accounting. Update 4, October 14th. Talked to my friend who recorded it. He just got a severance that is equal to 8+ months of pay. He's getting his paid time off cashed out and such. 2 months of pay, give or take, I think. And he starts working at a tech company starting with an S in 5 weeks. He's stoked. Ha 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 ha! They forced him to sign a very big non-disclosure agreement though. Seems they are trying to play the cover our butts game up in legal. He's talking to our boss at the moment, and I think getting a letter of recommendation. Guys, you need to realize that your words have a lot of power. And I'm not talking about the emotional power you have, like, the power to make someone's day or make someone feel sad. I'm talking about legal power. This story's called "Coworker was stealing from me, so I got her fired and made her boyfriend dump her." I work as sort of a bookie, taking bets for sport events. In my country, it's perfectly legal, and it's a good job with good tips. I have a coworker. Let's call her Annie. Well, Annie and I have been working together for more than a year. One shift is mine, then we count the register and she takes the second shift. In our job description is included a casino, Vegas style. On my desk, I have a large piggy bank that's metal and cannot be opened without busting it completely. It's also covered with black plastic Mickey Mouse foil. So it's been 6 months since I bought said piggy bank. I took it home to open it and buy myself something nice. So I got home and pry it open and find it has less than 1,000 euros in it. And since I almost every day leave at least 10 euros in it, it should be a lot more money. So someone must have stolen it. That's when I noticed a small hole under the Mickey Mouse foil, and I realized someone was stealing it from me. And I knew it had to be Annie. I confronted her and asked her if she opened it, and she started screaming at me, saying, "How dare I? I'm a horrible person and how can I accuse her?" and stuff like that. So I call my boss for a meeting. Since it's a casino, we have cameras for that area. What Annie doesn't know is that 2 of those cameras cover my work desk, and so everything that happens there is caught on camera. So I sit with my boss and explain that I think she's stealing from me and ask to access those cameras with him. He agrees, and what we saw there was enough to keep me smiling all day. Now for the revenge. Boss called her out on a meeting for alleged theft, so she brings her boyfriend, let's call him Mike, in with her. I was not part of the meeting, so my boss told me how it went, and so the conversation goes like this.
You've been accused of stealing your coworker's money. What do you have to say about that?
I would never. She's lying. That bench, you should fire her. She wants to get me fired. I will sue her.
This woman is the most honest-to-God person. You disgust me for accusing her like this. I will sue all of you for this. Well, we happen to have footage from the casino camera.
Annie turned pale.
So what? That proves nothing. She would never do something like that. Let's review the footage.
There's no need for that. I admit it. I stole the money. Mike, let's go.
Play it. There's nothing on it anyway. She didn't steal anything.
Boss plays the footage. Picture the end of my coworker shift. She turned most of the lights off and sat on my desk, and for 10 minutes you can see her prying my metal piggy bank open and taking some of the money and masking the hole. What I did not know is that she periodically took the money when she was on the second shift. What I also didn't know, and neither did her boyfriend, is that on one of the tapes, you can see a man entering past the closing time. That's enough. Don't need to see more. I admit it. I stole from her. Give me the tape. She proceeded to go for the laptop.
Sit the truck down. You are fired and you'll return every penny. Who was that guy? I want to see the rest of the tape.
No one, just a customer. Okay, I'm fired. Let's go. We saw everything. Let's go, please. Boss plays the rest of the tape. You can see the guy coming in and going behind the desk to Annie and acting, well, like her boyfriend would.
You're not allowed to stay in the building after closing time and sure as hell are not allowed to do that. You told me you worked late.
No, this is not real. This is Photoshop. They did this to me. She wants to ruin me.
Please leave your keys on the table. You will be escorted by security.
And the keys to my apartment. You're not welcome anymore. Well, I've been told the dude didn't even argue with her. He just cut her off. And to be honest, good for him. Boss fired her that day, and I haven't seen her since. And I'm suing her for the money she stole from me. So guys, that's the whole story. Wow, serves her right, okay? Not only is she stealing, she's cheating? No. And boys, let me tell you something. If she's not above stealing, she is definitely not above cheating. Alright? And obviously vice versa, girls, if he's not above stealing, he's also probably not above cheating. Both things are bad. However, cheating is the only one of those two that always, 100% of the time, involves breaking someone's trust. But yes, good job. She got everything that she probably deserved. Maybe not enough, but you know what? That was some decent justice. I rate it at least 8 out of 10. This story's called Friend Pranks My Parents on Their Wedding Day. My grandpa takes care of that. My grandpa was a quiet guy. He loved his family more than anything, and he was very observant. The wedding reception was in full swing. Everyone is drinking and dancing and having a great time. One of my dad's friends drunkenly decides to play a prank. He gets 2 more of my dad's buddies to help. Grandpa notices him sneaking out and watches. Now, my mom had a kick-butt car. It was a blue Camaro with a Landau top, and was either a 69, 70, or 71. My mom doesn't remember. This friend of dad's also had a Camaro of the same year. Anyway, the trio go out to my mom's car, pop the hood, and take apart. I think it was spark plugs, but whatever they took, it meant the car wouldn't start, leaving my parents kind of stranded. Grandpa saw this, waited till the drunk guys went back in, then took the same part from the drunk guy's car and put it in my mom's. He then took the drunk guy's tools and flashlight and hid them in the coat closet. Soon it's real dark, so the newlyweds leave for their hotel room. Drunk guy and his friends are even drunker and discover their car won't start. They pop the hood and see the missing part and start looking for the tools and flashlight. Grandpa walks over and says,
"Your tools and lighter in the coat closet. I hope your car is comfy because the building won't be unlocked until morning."
Of course, Grandpa tells Grandma, they laugh, and Grandma tells my mom and dad. My grandpa was the best. What a short and sweet, and by sweet I mean actually wholesome. That was a pleasant story to read, but I think it's kinda screwed up to prank newlyweds, especially on their wedding night. But what are groomsmen for if not that?
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.